Hello humans, welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, we shape and polish gemstones using a dremel. If that's something that interests you, please consider subscribing. Today we're going to be working on these spectacular rainbow meteor shower sunstones, the first of which has a gorgeous dark body tone and a great coppery flash. When we weigh it out, the starting weight of sunstone number 1 is 14.7 carats, and for sunstone number 2, it has a gorgeous gold flash and a great gold body tone as well. It's a bit of a long stone, but whatever we're able to get out of it, I'm sure it will be a stunner. When we weigh it out, it starts as 6.8 carats. For sunstone number 3, the brightest of the batch is got this beautiful pink flash going on it. It's got a nice flat back, and the other side has a bit of a dome going on. It's a little bit uneven all the way around, so it'll take a little bit of effort to get it to the right shape, but I do think it's beautiful overall. When we weigh that one out, it starts as 13.8 carats. When we shine a flashlight through sunstone number 1, you can see it's relatively clean in there. There are a few cracks going on in the back of it, but overall, nothing too crazy going on. When we shine a flashlight through sunstone number 2, on the other hand, there are chips and cracks going on in it on both sides, so we will see if we're able to get something out of it. It should be a little bit tricky with that one. And for sunstone number 3, it's mostly clean. There are a few cracks going on in there that are hidden, and that uneven side will make it tricky as well. But if you guys want to see how these stones get shaped and polished, and if they turn into gems or not, keep on watching the video. Hey guys, Carlin here. So it's time to go over a little bit of game plan for our sunstones that we'll be working on today. We have 3 of them. They are all rainbow meteor shower sunstones, and let's get into my plans. So I'm going to start with the darkest one as sunstone number 1, and while it may be the darkest, it has the weakest flash, but as you can see, the flash there is still really nice. And when you get up and close to it, and we'll see if I'm able to capture it when I'm done with the stone, it does have like a little bit, it's like peach base, and it has a few like very faint bluish green kind of teal streaks. But regardless, as you can see, this side is thicker than this side, and this side is thicker than this side. So, what I'll probably do is I'll bring in this side, and I'll probably start around here, then I'll flatten out the back, and we'll create a nice cushion cut out of this one. So, it's mostly clean. There's a couple of cracks going on in the back of it, but cracks are really normal for sunstone. That's kind of how you get the oxidation of the color in it, and they don't spread as quickly working on sunstone as they do opal. I feel like when you work on opal and there's a crack in it, the crack will just rapidly go right through the stone, whereas with sunstone, the cracks are a little bit more stable, and it is a harder material. So, but number 2 is this one here, and you can see, it has a really good golden flash, really golden on this one, really tan base stone, but there is this little chip here. So what I'll probably do is I'll cut it through here, right through that chip, and then I will try to create a pair of earrings out of it, and they will more than likely be ovals, if everything goes to plan. And I'll be making this the face, and this the back, because this part's already primed to be the back. So that one will be fun. And then we have sunstone number 3, which is the brightest of them. Number 2 is pretty bright, but this one has something special about it. It's, you can see on this side, you can pretty much see like the ends of the sunstone kind of strands going on. And it has a lot of really good color in it. There's a lot of yellow and like really pinky, some blues going on in it. But you can see that this side it tapers off a little bit. And this part also has a lot of cracks in it. So I'll probably take this down, make a cushion cut like this, and we'll see whether this side or this side end up being the face. While this side does have a good dome kind of going on it already, I feel like this side has better color. So you can kind of see, kind of show you guys. Like that has really great, really interesting dynamic lines. And this has great lines too, but I just don't feel like it's quite as flashy. So I'll probably make the flatter side the face. But I'm really excited to work on these. I hope that they all work out. If there's one that I want to work out the most, it's got to be number 3. Definitely want number 3 to work out the most. I do want all of them to work out, preferably, but there's always the unknown when working on stones. Alright, I think it's time to start working on these, and let's get into it. So with Sunstone number 1 on my 110 grit diamond sintered bit that I got from Suva Lapidary, I started by evening out the sides a little bit, kind of trying to flatten out the back. I wanted to try to get those cracks shaped down as fast as possible because I was a little bit worried about those kind of expanding through the stone, and if they did get through the entirety of the stone, well then it's gonna be all cracked up and nobody wants that. So I definitely focused the beginning efforts on getting that back nice and flat and free of all the cracks. So originally I had thought that there was gonna be a bit more cracks going on the thinner part of the stone, but as I shaped it down, I realized that when I flattened out the back to get those other cracks off, that crack kind of went with it. So I ended up with a bit of a longer stone than I had expected. I thought that it might be a little bit more square shaped, but it definitely ended up a lot more rectangular, as you could see here. And then after this, I just kind of started getting the sides nice and even. As you guys saw, they were pretty crooked, and the stone was pretty clean at that point. So once I got the sides nice and even and flat, I could start on getting the dome going on, and then getting the angles going on for the back so that it'll be easier to set. So once I got it where the sides were nice and even, I did take a nice long look at it to decide which side I thought would be better as the face. Although both sides were very beautiful, and a lot of times with Sunstone you get both sides with a lot of flash. So this is what it ended up looking like once I got it shaped out, got the corners nice and rounded, and kind of got my angles going on the back. Pretty happy with the shape here so far, and it turned out to be a lot quicker and easier than I thought that it would be. When we weigh it out at this point, it is 7.89 carats. And moving on to Sunstone number 2, I started by cutting it in half right away, and there were still some cracks going on in these pieces, which made me a little bit worried. I still weighed them out after I sliced it, and they were at 6.6 carats overall. I drew a couple of ovals on them with my stencils that I got from 53 Frogs, and then I just started going and trying to make them as round as I could, getting it as close to that shape as I could. So with the first one that I ended up shaping, there was a bit of a weird angle on the side, so it ended up being a lot smaller than I had anticipated, and this is what it looked like at that point. You can see it's pretty small, and I feel like the shape is pretty good, but definitely a little bit smaller than I was hoping for. And with the second half of Sunstone number 2, just started making it ovular again. This one had a little bit more meat to it, so that was nice. I was able to get a bigger stone out of it. There was no weird angles going on. I was able to make this one even bigger than the stencil circle that I put down, so that was pretty cool. And really, the bulk of the shaping on this was on the sides, just to kind of get those hard angles off of it, because when you have like the sharp hard angles on a stone, it can not be too desirable. You want to make sure to get all the lumps and stuff out of the shape. And this is what I ended up with at that point. You can see it's quite a bit bigger. It's got the same flash because it is the same stone, but they are equally as beautiful as each other. And when I weigh them out at this point, number 1 is 1.64, number 2 is 2.37, with a total of 3.96 carats. And then I started working on sunstone number 3, and I just started by slicing off that weird part on it. And then I took it back on my diamond-centered bit and was just trying to bring down that side. So there was a crack going through the stone on that side, and so I was really trying to get it down. And when I started kind of trying to even out the sides, I realized that there was a crack on the brighter side, as you could see, that kind of went through at a bit of an angle. So that was really worrying. I was worried at this point that I wasn't going to be able to get good stone out of it. So I just kept trying to grind away at it, trying to bring the sides in and even out the back as I'm trying to take off that portion with the crack on it, because if I focus just on the crack, then it could end up being a horrible shape. And I decided to go back to my diamond-centered slicing bit. This is from Stoller, by the way, and I've really been enjoying this slicing bit. I got it kind of recently, and to get the sides even, I just utilized the flatness of this slicing bit shape, and I evened out the sides. I was able to make the back really flat with this, which was really nice, and it went pretty quickly. I do suggest using a tool like this when you're trying to get a square shape, and this is the shape that we ended up with after that. And I was able to get that crack out on there for the most part. You can see it's still mostly there a little bit, and so I started doming with the bit, and then I got the back's angle out a little bit. This is the shape that I ended up with. I got the corners nice and rounded out, and I did get that crack out in the doming because I made that part the face. So that was a huge breath of fresh air, and it is 3.75 carats at this point. Now moving on to my Nova points. This is the point where it gives you a little bit of leeway to get out those bumps and divots if you have them left over from your diamond-centered bit. Now, since the first two Nova points are relatively coarse, if you're working on a smaller stone, you can get a lot more shaping done on these two, and they will be the ones that will get out any imperfections in the shape. The method that I use to get my stones to a pleasing shape and polish with my Nova points is I will work on the sides, going all the way around a couple times, and then I'll flip it and get the sides again to make sure that they are nice and even. And then I will start rounding out the edges of the stone that connect the sides of the stone to the face. And I round those out, kind of working in a circular motion, because sometimes if you neglect the connecting part between the face and the side of the stone, you can get like a sharp edge around that side, or just like it just doesn't look very good. So then after I've kind of rounded those out and made sure that there's a smooth transition between the sides and the face, I will work on the face in a circular motion, moving all the way around the stone, making sure that I continue to get those sides that connect with the face again as I'm going around. And as I'm working through the Nova points, it's important to take a second, dry it off, make sure that it looks right, because each Nova point is going to give you a little bit of a different texture on the face of the stone. So if you rush through the first two Nova points and you neglect certain pieces of the stone, then those scratches would be really hard to get out on your polishing paste or your oxide, whichever you use. So it's just really good to take your time here so that you don't have to spend extra time down the line. Now, a place in cushion cuts that's a little bit easy to neglect is the rounded corners of it. So as you are working on rounding out the transition between the face and the sides, you want to make sure that you get the corners just as well as everywhere else on the stone, because it can be easy to just want to go in a linear fashion on those, but you really want to make sure that you're working in a circular motion and making sure to get every piece of the stone. And once I have gotten the sides and the face nice, I go and I get all the edges that I created on the back, and then I work on the back, the flat part of the back, in a circular motion as well. Now, something else to keep in mind is that everybody's going to hold the stone differently. So you can see how I'm holding the stone here, and I kind of utilize my thumb and my middle finger to hold it in place. It might work better for you to hold it in a different way because everybody's hands are different. So definitely keep that in mind if you're going to be working on stones by hand like I do. And always feel free to dop earlier in the process if it makes you more comfortable, because it will make things a little bit easier for you since you have the stick to work with. So this is what the Sunstone number 1 looks like after the Nova points. You can see it's got like a rough polish on it, but it's nowhere near done, and the weight of that so far is 7.26 carats. This is half of Sunstone number 2, and here is the other half of it. You can see that they are in a pretty good round shape, and number 1 is 1.42 carats at this point, and then the second piece of that is 2.05 carats for a total of 3.49 carats at this point. And then we have Sunstone number 3, which is looking pretty good at this point, and it weighs 3.5 carats, so keeping the carats on it pretty well. The Nova points will take off a certain amount of carats, but once you are moving on to your polishing paste or your oxide, whichever you use, it will take off a dramatic less amount of the carats since they are mostly just polishing it, but it will take some off. And if you spend like a lot of time on the polishing step, it of course will take off a fair amount of carats. Now, if you do have scratches left over from your Nova points because like maybe you didn't go through them properly, if you're using the paste like me, you will be able to get those scratches out. It's just going to take a little bit of extra time and effort. So I did dop my sunstones here. As you can see, I used my dopping wax that I got from 53 Frogs, and it comes in like these little chunks, so it makes it like easy to work with in getting it on the stick, because you can take like a little chunk of the wax and you can heat up just a portion of it, enough to get it to stick to the stick, and then you can heat the wax up again to get it in the shape that you want it to be, to get it around your stone. And then you'll just want to heat up your stone gently, kind of being a little bit farther away from the flame as you're kind of heating up your wax to make sure that it sticks. And you'll want to be gentle with this because just like opals can crack in this step, you can easily crack your sunstones in this step as well, so you do want to be careful. Also, the felt tips here will create friction, which will create heat, which will heat up the stones, which will in turn heat up the wax, and sometimes the stone will wiggle out of the wax when you are working on your felt tips because of that extra heat that is created. Also, something to keep in mind when you're dopping is if your stone is touching the stick directly, as the stick kind of warms up, it's gonna pop off a lot easier, so you really want to make sure that there is wax between your stone and your stick, because yeah, it'll just make it a lot easier. And you'll also want to take time to take the stone away, as always, kind of take off some of that polishing paste that's left on them, make sure that you did get the scratches out. I find that as I'm working through my polishing paste, there's often scratches left over that I have to take extra time on the stones, especially with bigger stones. Like in this case, I had some extra scratches left over on Sunstone number 1, but I was able to get them out. Something else to keep in mind with Sunstone is that as the stone is polished down, you will have the inclusions that create the reflect. Those inclusions will sometimes have divots that go through the stone, so you can like polish it all day long and you're not going to get those divots out sometimes, but sometimes you'll get lucky and you'll get a perfectly smooth surface. So definitely keep that in mind as you're working on Sunstone, that sometimes the divots are just going to be there, and just don't get too frustrated with it because it's just the way that it is. Sunstone, you get divots, you get cracks, like that's just how it is. And you do get sunstone all over the world. A lot of the sunstone that I work on is Tanzanian, but I've seen online recently that there's a lot of really great sunstones and moonstones that you can find in the forest in British Columbia, Canada. We also have Oregon sunstone in America, and there's sunstone in China, Australia, pretty much all over. But it's still very beautiful, so depending on where you live, keep an eye out for it. Alright guys, and now it's time for the finished stones. This is what Sunstone number 1 looks like when it's finished, and it is beautiful. The final weight of it is 7.24 carats. It's got a great shape. I'm really happy with the polish on it. We lost a total of 7.46 carats, so we were able to save like around half, a little less than half, but I'm pretty happy with that. That's a lot better of a yield than I thought that I would get. Shape is great. The flash is really nice. It's a lot better than I thought it would be in the beginning, so I'm really happy with that one. And now it is time for the 2 sunstones for Sunstone number 2. They are nice and bright, but they both have cracks going on in them, so I'm not very happy about that. The final weight of them is a total of 3.49 carats, so I mean, we lost 3.31 carats, so we saved more than half, technically, but yeah, they're kind of cracked, so I don't know about that. Not very happy about that. And for Sunstone number 3, it is so bright. It's really gorgeous. I love the way that the colors are. The shape is really satisfying, and just look at those pinks. It is wild. And the final weight of Sunstone number 3 is also 3.49 carats. So I'm pretty happy with that yield. I mean, we lost a total of 10.31 carats, so we lost a lot of this stone, but I'm happy that we were able to save anything. I mean, considering that we had those cracks going on in it, I'm really happy with these results, and it is so bright. The shape is great. The only way that I could be happier with this stone is if I was able to save more, but just look at the pinks and blues in there. It's crazy. It's like cotton candy or something. And the gold is insane. I'm very happy with this one. Alright guys, so it's time for my final thoughts on these Rainbow Meteor Shower Sunstones that I shaped today. So, Sunstone number 1, you know, it turned out really nice. It has a super good flash. There's that like blue and pink that's in there. The shape, I'm very happy with the way that the shape turned out. Also, like the flash is a little bit coppery, but I like the coppery kind of flash that it has going on in it. My favorite part about that stone is that it has such a dark body tone. I really like the super black body tone that it's got going on. And I also like the little blue streak, like right in the middle of it. I think that that's really fun, really interesting stone. It turned out to be my biggest one, so that's awesome. And, you know, polish is great. Overall, very happy with that stone. And then we have Sunstone number 2, which ended up as the 2 stones. Both ended up having cracks in them. While the color is pretty bright, the cracks in them kind of suck, because it's not like they're healed fractures. They are definitely expanding cracks. But my favorite part about them is how gold they are. You know, they have a really gold body tone, and then also the flash is really gold. And yeah, it's just a little disappointing that they both ended up cracking kind of in the same spot on the stones. So much for that pair of earrings, but hey, you know, that's alright, that's alright. You win some and you lose some. I got 2 winners and 2 losers in this video, and you know, the good always comes with the bad. Speaking of good, we have Sunstone number 3. Sunstone number 3 is like Color City. I mean, there are more colorful Rainbow Meteor Shower Sunstones out there, but this one's really special. The pinks in it are phenomenal, and then it also has those greens and blues. It has a lot of depth when you look at it up close. You can kind of see the layers of the lines sitting in a really cool way. The shape is great. I love the shape. I was a little bit disappointed in the shaping process when I had to get rid of extra carats of it because it was cracking, and that worried me. I was a little bit worried I wasn't going to be able to get anything out of it at all, but I feel like it resulted in a very satisfying square-like rectangular shape, and I think it's a great shape. I think it would be really nice in like a signet ring. Of course, my favorite part about it is all those darn pinks. I mean, what is crazy? I never seen one so pink. I think that Sunstone number 1 would be best as a necklace, like facing long ways. So like you have it like this, and then you have the metal around it, and then the chains come out on the ends. I think that that would be the best plan of action for this. I will have 1 and 3 on my eBay here soon, so if you're interested in buying one of them, go ahead and check out my eBay. If not, that's totally cool. And yeah, I hope you guys like these stones as much as I do, because I really love them. Thanks for watching this far, and yeah, very happy with these results. Thank you guys so much for watching this far if you have. If you're still watching, I would really appreciate it if you would give the video a thumbs up to let the algorithm know that it's enjoyable. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed to the channel and you liked this kind of content. If you have anything to say, I would super appreciate it if you would leave a comment down below. Share this with a friend if you have even just one friend to share this with, and help make our community stronger. And I'll see you guys next time that I post a video. Later!